Imagine waking up for class, only for your teacher's head to explode into a Daruma doll that brutally murders anyone who dares to blink. For Shun and his classmates, surviving high school just became a literal game of life or death. In the beginning, we are introduced to a high school boy named Shun, a teenager completely bored out of his mind with his utterly mundane life. Day in and day out, his routine is painfully simple: go to school, come back home, and repeat. There is absolutely nothing in his existence that he actually enjoys, and this overwhelming monotony is slowly driving him crazy. Whenever he gets back from school, he isolates himself in his room, finding a fleeting sense of escape by playing video games, but even that thrill is fading fast, leaving him frustrated and desperate for a change. One day, pushed to his limit by the sheer boredom, Shun offers a silent prayer to God, wishing out loud how incredible it would be if real life was just like a video game, filled with high-stakes excitement and adrenaline. Little does he know, his prayer is about to be answered in the most twisted way imaginable. The very next morning, while Shun is sitting in his classroom, his teacher's head suddenly explodes into a bloody mess, right in front of everyone. Out of the gory wreckage emerges a Daruma doll, a sinister and deadly figure that immediately begins a ruthless execution. The rules of this sick game become instantly clear: if any student makes the slightest movement, the Daruma doll violently detonates their head, killing them on the spot. Realizing that his wild wish has actually come true, Shun is instantly filled with overwhelming guilt and horror, because he never wanted innocent people to pay for his boredom with their lives. As blood splatters across the walls and terror grips the room, the surviving students realize the doll is playing a deadly game of red light, green light, humming a dark melody, turning around, and instantly obliterating anyone who trembles or moves. Panic erupts, screams echo through the halls, and the doll continues its brutal slaughter without a shred of mercy. Amidst the chaos, Shun's best friend tries to keep a cool head, recognizing this as a survival game they are forced to win, and he points out a red button on the back of the doll that might be their only key to stopping the nightmare. Desperate to survive, one student charges forward to hit the button, but the doll catches him in its glare, causing his blood vessels to burst open in a horrifying instant. Shun quickly calculates the situation and realizes there is a countdown timer running on the doll's back, with only 1 minute remaining, meaning if nobody hits that button before time runs out, every single person in the room will die together. Fueled by sheer panic, several more students rush forward, but the doll ruthlessly cuts them down one by one, painting the entire room in crimson until only Shun and his best friend are left standing, completely frozen in place. With barely 30 seconds left on the clock, Shun's friend suggests a desperate plan, telling Shun to step on his back to reach the button and save them both. Shun hesitates, paralyzed by fear and the weight of the moment, but with the seconds rapidly ticking away, he summons every ounce of courage, leaps off his friend, and slams the button down, knocking the doll to the floor. For a brief second, relief washes over them as they think they have won, but in a horrific turn of events, the doll brutally executes Shun's friend anyway, coldly revealing that since Shun was the sole person to press the button, he is the only one allowed to live. Horrified and shattered by the loss of his entire class, Shun steps out into the hallway, only to bump into Ichika, a female friend who managed to survive the exact same nightmare in her own classroom by pressing her doll's button. Struggling to make sense of the carnage, Shun tries to call for help, but there is zero cellular signal, and to make matters worse, every single exit in the school has been completely sealed shut. Desperate for a way out, the two navigate through the silent, bloody hallways until they stumble upon a new area where a few other survivors are gathered, all forced to wear ridiculous giant mouse costumes. They quickly spot a chilling message printed across the floor that reads, "Feed the cat's bell," just seconds before a colossal robotic cat bursts through the ground, towering over them with terrifying authority. The giant feline immediately begins snatching up students and devouring them whole, sending everyone into a state of absolute chaos and panic. During the madness, Shun manages to find a massive bell on the floor and notices a small hoop attached to the cat's collar, realizing that scoring a basket with the bell might be the only way to clear the game. One courageous student grabs the bell and leaps into the air to take the shot, but the massive cat swiftly swats him out of the air, crushing him to death in a sickening flash. Seeing the hope of victory crumble, the remaining survivors freeze in absolute horror, and during the chaos, Ichika trips and falls directly into the predator's line of sight. Just as the giant beast closes in to devour her, Shun hurls himself into the open to draw its attention, knowing the cat is aggressively targeting anyone in a mouse costume, only to realize something utterly bizarre. The giant mechanical cat is actually speaking directly to the students dressed as mice. The giant mechanical cat pauses and reveals that its back is terribly itchy, prompting all the terrified students to reach out and scratch its fur, instantly soothing the monstrous beast into a peaceful slumber. Seeing the monster drop its guard, Shun realizes this is their golden window of opportunity to toss the massive bell through the hoop and clear the level. However, paranoia quickly infects the surviving group, with students frantically arguing that just like the Daruma game, only the person who scores the winning shot will be allowed to live while the rest perish. A violent brawl erupts over who gets to throw the bell, and the loud commotion abruptly awakens the giant cat, which instantly flies into a murderous rage and resumes its brutal assault on the helpless crowd. In a stroke of tactical brilliant genius, Shun and Ichika decide to confuse the giant predator by hurling two separate objects into the air at the exact same time, a decoy ball and the actual heavy bell, so the cat cannot predict which one to block. The plan works almost seamlessly as the bell sails towards the hoop, but Shun's trajectory falls agonizingly short, threatening to doom them all as the timer ticks down to its final 2 seconds. Out of nowhere, the school's most dangerously violent delinquent, a ruthlessly powerful boy named Amaya, charges forward without a second thought for his own survival, leaping into the air to forcefully slam the bell through the basket and clear the game just as time expires. Ichika breathes a massive sigh of relief, celebrating their narrow survival, but Shun remains deeply uneasy, warning her that they still do not know if everyone in the room actually gets to live. The giant cat then breaks the tense silence, declaring that only the three of them, Shun, Ichika, and Amaya, are the true victors of the round, leaving all the other surviving students to be brutally wiped out on the spot. Amaya turns to Shun, casually boasting that these twisted death matches are designed by God himself to weed out the weak and reward only the most naturally gifted and powerful survivors like themselves. Ichika sharply defends Shun, snapping at Amaya that Shun is nothing like a heartless monster, but rather a brilliant, strong, and genuinely compassionate human being. Infuriated by her words, Amaya glares at them in silent rage, but before a fight can break out, the giant cat exhales a thick cloud of sleeping gas, instantly knocking all three of them unconscious. Across the country, society is plunging into absolute chaos as news of these bizarre, terrifying divine trials spreads like wildfire, leaving the entire world watching in sheer terror and confusion. High above the sky, a massive, mysterious floating cube hovers over the city, carrying all the surviving students from various schools, completely impenetrable to the military forces outside trying desperately to break in. Meanwhile, down on the streets, an enigmatic homeless man casually touches a completely broken radio, causing it to instantly burst back to life, strongly hinting that his presence is somehow tied to the sinister game playing out above. Inside the floating cube, Shun opens his eyes and is immediately greeted by the face of Takumi, a sharp young girl who happens to be his childhood best friend. Surrounded by a handful of elite survivors from other high schools, including a shockingly brilliant male student, the group watches as a glowing message appears on the wall, instructing them to find the hidden keys to escape the room. Suddenly, four wooden dolls descend from above, announcing with eerie enthusiasm that only the true winners of their game will earn the right to move forward. The dolls lay out the dark rules. One player must be blindfolded in the center of the room while the four wooden dolls circle around them singing a haunting children's song, and the moment the song stops, the player must correctly guess which specific doll is standing directly behind them or face immediate execution. The dolls select the brilliant boy first, but his logical deduction fails him, and the dolls mercilessly tear him apart in a gruesome display of violence. Next up, a terrified girl takes the chair, but panic paralyzes her thought process, and when time runs out without an answer, the dolls slaughter her without a second thought. With only Shun and Takumi left, the dolls force Shun into the center of the room, blindfolding him as they begin their unsettling dance, spinning around him while singing their ominous lullaby. When the song abruptly stops and the dolls demand an answer, Shun sits in complete, dead silence, letting the time run out until a loud timer chime echoes through the room. The dolls laugh hysterically, telling Shun that he is out of time and prepare to tear him to pieces, but right as they move in for the kill, Shun calmly blurts out the correct name of the doll behind him. The dolls mockingly tell him his answer is completely useless because time has already expired, but Shun reveals a brilliant trick. The timer chime they just heard was actually a recording playing from his cell phone, which he had secretly recorded during the previous players' turns to throw the dolls off their rhythm. Realizing they have been outsmarted, the dolls shriek in disbelief as Shun officially wins the round, causing all 4 wooden dolls to explode into pieces, leaving behind a crucial key for Shun and Takumi to collect. Unlocking the massive door, Shun and Takumi sprint into the next corridor where they run into another frantic student who is being chased by a terrifyingly massive, monstrous doll. The boy desperately yells at them to link hands immediately, explaining that as long as they maintain physical contact with one another, the monster is completely powerless to harm them. Moments later, Ichika reunites with them in the chaos, and together they retreat into a secure chamber where 2 other surviving boys are already waiting. The boys inform Shun that opening the final heavy exit door requires a total of 7 keys, but between all of them, they only possess 4. Just then, Amaya steps into the room holding the remaining 3 keys, having survived the terrifying giant doll while casually dragging along another survivor, whom Amaya cold-bloodedly executes the second they step inside the safe zone. With all 7 keys finally inserted into the heavy gate, a strange mechanism unlocks, accompanied by a cold voice coming from the speakers, ordering all the survivors to immediately change into the traditional robes laid out before them. After changing into the required robes, the survivors step forward into the next challenge. Meanwhile, a broad camera cut reveals that the entire nation is glued to giant broadcast screens. Every single gruesome trial occurring inside the floating cube is being live-streamed to the horrified public in real time. Inside the cube, the 7 remaining survivors enter a vast, freezing chamber filled with mountains of snow. Suddenly, a massive polar bear manifests before them, announcing that to beat this round, they must honestly answer a series of questions, and a single lie will result in immediate death. The polar bear poses the first question, asking everyone to state their absolute favorite food. Each survivor answers one by one, but the bear glares at them, declaring that someone in the group just lied. After a tense moment of suspicion, attention turns toward the boy who had earlier been running from the giant doll. Despite his frantic desperate claims that he spoke the complete truth, the bear shows zero mercy, instantly crushing him to death in a bloody flash. The polar bear then moves on to the second question, asking who among them genuinely likes Shun. Knowing him well, Ichika, Amaya, and Takumi instantly answer yes, while the 2 students from other schools naturally answer no because they don't know Shun at all. Once again, the polar bear growls that someone in the group is lying. Shun steps forward, bewildered, asking how anyone could possibly lie about such simple personal questions. The bear then drops a chilling revelation. One person among them is an undercover liar working directly for the game masters to sabotage the group, and if they cannot expose the traitor themselves, everyone will be executed. Suspicion rapidly shifts toward Takumi, simply because she belongs to a different school. Shun desperately steps in to defend her, explaining that she is his childhood friend, but the terrified group refuses to listen. As the countdown clock expires, the panicked survivors point the finger at Takumi. Desperate and crying, Takumi stares at Shun, pleading that she never lied and that she genuinely likes him with all her heart. Her cries fall on deaf ears, and the giant bear brutally massacres her in a heartbreakingly violent scene. As Takumi's lifeless body falls into the snow, Shun notices her warm, real human blood pooling on the icy floor, instantly realizing that if she were an artificial plant or a robotic liar, she wouldn't bleed like a real human. A surge of clarity hits Shun as he realizes who the real liar has been all along. Turning directly toward the giant predator, Shun points his finger at the monster, boldly declaring that the polar bear itself is the liar, concocting mind games to force the survivors into turning against and murdering one another. Exposed, the white bear's fur violently shifts from pristine white to pitch black, confirming that Shun has successfully called its bluff and beaten the round. However, there is no joy in victory. Shun is left deeply traumatized by the painful sacrifice of 2 innocent lives, including his childhood friend. The remaining 5 survivors advance to the final stage of the divine trial, where a group of tiny wooden dolls welcomes them with eerie applause. The dolls inform them that no outside threats will attack them in this final game. Instead, they must play a deadly game of kick the can amongst themselves. The rules are laid out with brutal clarity. 1 player will be randomly selected as the demon, while the other 4 must scatter and hide. If the demon catches all 4 hidden players and kicks the central can, the demon wins, becoming the sole survivor while everyone else dies. Conversely, if a hidden player manages to sneak out and kick the can before the demon catches them, the other 3 survivors will live, but the person who kicked the can will be vaporized instantly, sacrificing their life for the rest. Using a drawing of sticks, Amaya is chosen as the demon. The small dolls trigger the game, placing explosive can in the center of the arena while Amaya sets off to hunt the others down. One by one, Amaya easily tracks down 2 of the survivors, brutally beating them into submission before locking them inside a makeshift prison cell. Nearby, Ichika and Shun are hiding together in a dark corner, but Amaya's heavy footsteps rapidly approach their location. To protect Shun, Ichika willingly steps out from the shadows, allowing herself to be captured by Amaya. Knowing he holds all the cards, Amaya taunts Shun, telling him there is no point in hiding anymore since 3 players are already locked up, advising him to stay put. Shun finds himself trapped in an agonizing moral dilemma. He can either stay hidden to save his own skin while letting the others die, or rush out, kick the can, and sacrifice his own life so Ichika and the rest can live. From behind her bars, Ichika screams at Shun through her tears, reassuring him that she knows how deeply good-hearted he is, but begging him not to throw his life away for them. Ignoring her desperate pleas to stay hidden, Shun dons a heavy suit of metal armor lying nearby and boldly steps out into the open arena to face Amaya and make his ultimate choice. Amaya bursts into dark laughter, mocking Shun and asking if he seriously expects to beat him while clanking around in a heavy suit of metal armor. Amaya taunts that all he has to do is yank off Shun's helmet, shout his name, and kick the central can to claim ultimate victory. With terrifying speed, Amaya closes the distance and easily tears the helmet right off Shun's head. However, Shun catches him completely off guard, revealing that he never wore the armor to fight, he wore it to anchor them together. In a desperate, shocking move, Shun plunges straight into the surrounding deep water, wearing the heavy iron suit. Because Amaya's hand is chained to Shun's armor, the sheer weight drags Amaya directly into the icy depths right alongside him. Deep underwater, Shun brilliantly wriggles free from the heavy armor, though the intense physical strain leaves him severely injured. Clinging to life, Amaya unleashes his raw, monstrous strength to shatter the chain binding him, bursting out of the water and sprinting toward the central can. Shun drags his battered body out of the lake and hurls himself forward at the exact same time. In a razor-thin photo finish, Shun kicks the can a split second before Amaya can touch it, officially ending the game. Silence hangs over the arena as the survivors break down in tears, grieving for Shun because, according to the rules, the person who kicks the can is supposed to be vaporized instantly. However, seconds tick by, and the central can never explodes. The tiny wooden dolls float down, giggling cheerfully as they reveal the ultimate twist: the self-sacrifice rule was a complete lie. The entire trial was carefully engineered to identify a truly selfless human being who possesses a genuine heart and is willing to lay down their life for others. The dolls declare that everyone currently standing in the arena has officially won the game. Across the city, massive crowds break into wild celebration as the floating cube broadcasts the joyous news. To mark their victory, the dolls hand out popsicles to the surviving teens, assuring them that their traumatic ordeal is finally over and that they can now return to their normal, peaceful lives. Overjoyed, the survivors begin eating their popsicles, but as the wooden sticks are exposed, they notice a terrifying message printed on the wood indicating who lives and who dies. Horror sets in as the dolls coldly clarify the real rules of the final trial. Power alone was never enough, because true survival requires both immense strength and absolute, raw luck. Out of the entire group, only Shun and Amaya drew the winning sticks, while the remaining 3, including Ichika, are instantly vaporized, turning their momentary joy into complete tragedy. Amaya laughs hysterically, reveling in his divine luck, while Shun stands paralyzed in absolute horror as Ichika dissolves into dust right before his eyes. With the divine games officially concluded, Shun and Amaya are lowered out of the floating cube and brought back to the city streets below. Towering crowds gather to cheer for them, hailing the 2 boys as ultimate gods and surviving heroes. But Shun feels nothing but pure, burning rage. Looking up at the sky, Shun bitterly shouts that there is no such thing as a merciful god, because this cruel entity stole his friends, his schoolmates, and his entire life for nothing more than sick entertainment. Suddenly, the wooden dolls appear one last time, correcting Shun's claim and revealing that God does indeed exist. In a final, mind-bending revelation, the scene shifts down to the city streets, pointing directly to the mysterious homeless man who had effortlessly fixed the broken radio earlier. It turns out that this ordinary-looking wanderer was the mastermind behind the entire apocalyptic nightmare all along, watching the carnage unfold with absolute amusement. As Shun glares at the mysterious man with burning hatred, the dark reality of his new world settles in, bringing this terrifying story to a chilling close. And with that, our story comes to an end, so if you enjoyed this ride, make sure to smash that subscribe button, leave a like, and drop your thoughts down in the comments below, because I'd love to know what you think.